Yeah, I almost have to kind of counteract my trust issues and just force myself to trust because I know
Yeah,
I have this paranoid deficit of that.
yeah.
So I'm a little more self aware. I think after you and I spoke, when I was filming our last movie, Reconnect, I went home and actually put my mom and dad on camera and asked them about the
Mm.
divorce. I probably traumatized them by doing it. But I got
No, 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 you didn't. You may have upset them, but you didn't traumatize them.
right. Okay, that's a good point. I definitely upset my dad, I think. Um,
Yeah,
but I completely re-understood what happened there, and it wasn't the story I had told myself. I actually saw it from their perspective and their growth, and then I kind
yeah,
of got to see the benefits I got from it, and I unpacked the whole piece to where, for me now, that's no longer necessarily a bad thing that happened to me. It's just something that happened to me that has positives and things I need to look out for now. So
yeah.
I've kind of processed it, I guess. I think. I'm sure there's
Well,
parts I
well,
haven't.
so there's a film made on my work called The Wisdom of Trauma, which, by the way, is available online. And one of the senses in which I mean the wisdom of trauma is that if you work it through, you do gain a lot of wisdom. You learn a lot, don't you, about yourself and the world. Not that we should deliberately traumatize anybody so that they can learn from it. I mean, there's other ways of learning, but the fact is that people that have worked through their trauma, like a lot of people, as you know, through the addiction world, who have really looked at their habits and where they came from, and they learn a lot about themselves. And to that degree, they become much more at peace with themselves and the world, and much more compassionate in their approach to themselves and to other people. So there's a wisdom to be gleaned from working through one's trauma.
Yeah. In the book, you talk about, anger and rage and some other primal emotions like lust and fear. And you kind of
Yeah,
talk about them as if it's something that we need to understand that these are emotions, which means by definition, they're not wrong. And there's
yeah,
a place for them as opposed to just suppressing them. And I wanted to ask you about that because my boys are now 5 and 6 years old, Damon and Caden. And we have rage that happens between these two brothers, and
yeah,
sometimes it can result in a hit or a bite. And I'm constantly trying to manage it to where I don't want them to suppress it, but I kind of want to get them to observe it to where maybe they don't have to just behave to react immediately to it. And I'm sure I'm doing something's wrong, but how do you get us as adults and maybe even children to get in touch with these primal emotions and allow them to flow, but also not allow them to dominate us?
yeah. I mean, I certainly remember the same dynamic between my two sons who were 3.5 years apart. And sometimes it was so distressing, because you want love in your family. You don't want
Yeah.
these kids hating each other. Well, so first of all, sibling rivalry is as old as humankind. It seems like if you go back to Cain and Abel in the Bible, not a very happy outcome, but it's
No.
certainly that old. So much of it depends on how the parents. First of all, the oldest child never demanded that you bring somebody new into the house to dethrone him from the parents' attention. Why should he like it? Why should he not resent it? The younger child never had the experience of not being dominated by and kind of looked down on and resented by, or the that's the youngest child experience by somebody older, you know? And so there's going to be conflict there. By the way, especially in modern society, because the other thing we have to say here is that human beings were never meant to parent in isolated nuclear families. So that we evolved. You referred earlier to the hunter-gatherer phase, which even in the life of our own species, Homo sapiens, let alone our hominin evolutionary ancestors, which we're talking millions and hundreds of thousands of years. But just take the life of our own species. If the life of our own species, Homo sapiens, can be expressed in 1 hour, then until 6 minutes ago, we lived in hunter-gatherer tribes. And children were not stuck in a home, two siblings with parents who, one of them was away the whole day working at least. They were out there in nature, playing with multiple playmates of all ages under the benevolent gaze of adults. There, you wouldn't have had this dynamic, you
Right.
know. So part of it is function of what we like to call our civilization. But now that we're here, so one of the determinants of how this will go down is how do you react when this happens? If you can stay mindful and calm and connected and regulated, that'll teach the kids that it's possible to stay regulated in the presence of stress. If you get all uptight like I did and start yelling and so on, that just feeds the fuel for their fire, you know? So part of it depends on how do the parents respond. Secondly, naturally, you can't allow kids to hate each other. You just can't allow the older one to beat up the younger one. You can't allow that. But the question is, who steps in? Is it a rageful, triggered adult? Or is it the self-regulated adult who says, no, your brother's not for hitting? And in that moment, you're not trying to teach anything. You're just simply trying to teach that this is not acceptable, period. But you're not teaching emotional self-regulation. Now, after the episode is over and you're reconnected with the child, and you're both calm, then you say, oh, you must have been very upset when you hit your brother. What was going on for you? You must have been very angry. That's when, so you don't try and teach them the language in the middle of the crisis, because in the crisis, they're in flight and fight mode. No learning takes place. So you wait till they're regulated and you're regulated, and then you have this conversation, and that'll teach them, oh yeah, there's other ways of handling this, you know, so that's how you do it. Yeah. That's the first point. The second point, the third point I should say, is this. If this happens a lot, then you have to wonder what's frustrating these kids so much. Now, what frustrates kids is when the needs aren't met. And what's the kid's biggest need? Consistent, emotionally available, attuned adults giving them nurturing contact. So then you have to say, well, am I somehow, because of my own issues and my work concerns and my career drives, am I perhaps depriving them of that nurturing, loving contact that then frustrates them? Then they take their frustration on each other. In other words, we have to look at it from every angle possible, and then we can intervene in a very positive and humane and way that promotes their growth.
I'm looking for partners, collaborators, colleagues who want to join forces with me around the globe and create real value, generational wealth, and financial freedom for everyone else around the world. Get involved in the cryptocurrency markets, get involved in the NFT markets. This is your moment. Life all comes down to a few moments. Don't let this pass. Now it's not too late. Next year's going to be too late. Ultimately, this is about freedom. That's the way I see it. This is about giving power back to the people and enabling billions of people worldwide to use the financial markets to improve their lives and those of their friends and their families and their communities. Honestly, I think it's a violation of human rights not to allow people basic access to financial services. Because right now people are being kept in the dark, they're being robbed of education, and it's a travesty. And so I'm looking for people that want to join me and be a part of this solution. And that all happens inside the DeFi Academy. The gains my students are making are absolutely amazing. Double, triple digit gains in the first month alone. That's amazing. This will change your life. Now is the time to get involved. I'm gonna tell you exactly how my students in my academy made money in the last 30 days. I'm talking about real trading results. And let me just whet your appetite a little bit. Let me hit you with some numbers. I'm talking Brendan from New Zealand is up 68.77% on the month. Steve from Europe up 83%. Albert in Singapore up 169.9% on one single trade. I got Susan up 153% on her call options alone, also rocking 139% returns and 442% returns as well on individual trades. These are people that are changing their financial future in the last 30 days, but it's based on trading discipline.
I've graduated over 500 students from inside my academy from over 54 countries around the world. It's amazing. When it comes to crypto, DeFi, and blockchain, we love this space. We truly believe it's the future. This is down to our core. It's authentic to what we're doing, and everybody can tell through the camera because you can't make this stuff up. If you're watching me now, wherever you are, I implore you, take 60 seconds right now and join my academy. Apply today.
Now you've got a chance. Life all comes down to a few moments. What are you going to do? What's the choice that you're going to make?